Welcome back, University of Miami Hurricanes fans. Back on the old school train again, and we're going to talk about last night's game. Thank you guys, everyone, for joining us today. This was a crazy game. Crazy game in the way of being there's some good and there's also some bad, and I think we'll talk about it, but this game was very up and down, and there were some things that we could definitely fix that we saw last year that kind of reared their head this year. So going to the player stats, Carson Beck, 20 for 31, 205 and 2 touchdowns. He looked very good. Mark Fletcher, 15 for 66. Brown had 15 for 54 yards and a touchdown. And then Jordan Lyle had 5 for 11. He looked all right. It's just, I think it was definitely the fourth or fifth run I saw it when it happened. His foot got caught under one of the other defensive lineman's hips, and I think it's going to be some sort of a sprain or something like that. I do think that because his foot didn't look right when I saw the play, and people thought he was just healthy. I remember seeing his foot go under that dude and be like, oh, that does not look right. It looks like a sprain. So, unfortunately, Jordan Lyle's probably going to be out for a little bit. You have Carson Beck for -2. And then you have receiving Malachi Toney, 6 for 82 and a touchdown. CJ Daniels, 5 for 46 and a touchdown. An amazing touchdown, one of the best touchdowns I've ever seen. Marion had 3 for 29, and then Brown had 2 for 17. And then, surprisingly enough, I was hearing a whole bunch of stuff about Elijah Lofton over the offseason, and he only had 1 catch, and it was a great catch, but yeah, he wasn't really involved at all. Then we'll go to the defense. Aguirre Jr. is 5 tackles, 1 assisted. Anthony Mesidor, 3 total tackles, 2 assisted, and a sack and a half. One of them happened to be, I think, at the end of the game with Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain had 3 total tackles and 3 assisted with a half sack and 1 crazy interception where homeboy, one of the defenders missed it and then kicked it back up like a soccer move, and Ruben Bain ended up coming down with it. First off, he's going to do great things. He's going to be, a University of Miami, first-round draft pick. But what a cool name to have, too. Like, if you're a defensive end that gets sacks and your name is Ruben Bain, always love that dude's name. Lucas had 3 for 2. And then Moten had 1 sack. And then Zachariah Poyser, Bill Santh, and Brown, and pretty much everybody else had a couple tackles. So what we'll talk about first is Carson Beck. He looked really good, honestly. The second half, I don't really think it was Carson Beck's fault. I just feel like, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, that the coaching staff just kind of took the ball away from him, where they just made him run the ball or made him throw short throws, and just kind of took away the offense that they had in the first half and the second half. And, this is what I was kind of saying, is that it kind of is rearing its head, that old, last year's style of coaching where got very safe at the end. But when we weren't playing safe, Carson Beck was playing phenomenal. I really thought he looked, honestly, he almost looked like Tua, kind of throwing the ball everywhere, getting everybody the ball. He looked very good. He looked accurate. He looked like he was going through his reads. He looked like an NFL-ready quarterback. But then, like I said, in the second half, it was kind of like they just took the ball away from him, and they just didn't want him to throw the ball. They just wanted to play it so safe instead of running that offense that they were doing in the first half, where it just seemed like he didn't even have the ability to try and get in a rhythm. But besides that, I really, there was a lot of hype, a lot of questions coming into this season. Now, is he going to be like Cam Ward? No. Cam Ward was one of one. He's going to be the best quarterback that we watched for a very long time, University of Miami. But can Carson Beck be almost like a Peyton Manning or something like that? 100%. Watching the throws and the pocket presence that he had and all of that, he looked phenomenal. He looked like, if this team kind of holds it together, which we'll talk about that in a second as well, is that we got a quarterback that can really do something. He was in the, with Georgia, he's gone to the lengths with them, so he understands that he's a veteran. We have the quarterback that we need. Now, secondary, unfortunately, like I said, Jordan Lyle, I was really looking forward to his season. He looked very explosive coming in, but I mean, I'm going to check the injury report. He probably is going to be out for a couple weeks, because that, to me, when I watched it live, seeing his foot under the defender, it did not look good. It looked like he was twisting all the way back. So unfortunately, I think Jordan Lyle's going to be out for a little while. But Mark Fletcher seemed to hold his own. And, Brown, he was the thumper that we need to get in that goal line. So I think they'll be able to hold their own. Hopefully, Jordan Lyle can come back soon. But, the run game was pretty good. Receiving-wise, though, like I told you guys in the offseason, C.J. Daniels, he had one of the most amazing catches that I've ever seen in my life. Like, let's be real with this. That was the one bad throw that I think, Carson Beck made, where he just kind of lofted it up. And if C.J. Daniels doesn't do that, it's going to be an interception, most likely. And C.J. Daniels came down with such a phenomenal catch, like high pointing the ball in between two defenders. It was ridiculous. So with this, I think with what we saw in this game, the thing that I really want to talk about is that we kind of owned the line of scrimmage for most of the game. It was like the offensive line was really doing their thing. They were moving everybody around for the run game. Maui Noah was looking phenomenal. The center that we got from, I think it's TCU, Brockenmeyer, he looked very good. The offensive line looked phenomenal, and the defensive line did as well. And with the defense, again, it looked great in the first half, and then Notre Dame started getting it going. The one thing that I was very surprised about, which, I'm happy that it went this way, but it was like they just weren't running the ball with Jeremiah Love at all. And it wasn't like he wasn't getting yards. It was like Jeremiah Love, when he would touch the ball, I think somebody had their finger stuck on the Y button, because he was trying to hurdle everybody. Literally every single run play, it seemed like he was trying to hurdle someone. But when he did run the ball, he looked really good. They just didn't run the ball with him at all, which was very weird. But I'm happy for it. Corey Heatherman's defense looked pretty stout. It looked very good for most of the game. There were some parts that just didn't look good. It was like blown coverages mostly that they scored on us. It was the first half when they were rolling all out, and then the defensive backs kind of just decided to take a break in the middle of the end zone and left everybody wide open. And then that blown coverage all the way in the back with the tight end pretty much getting downfield all by himself. That was, for the most part, what happened. But honestly, the defense played very well. They had a lot of pressure. Ruben Bain, I was kind of saying he needed to come up with a sack, because, I love Ruben Bain, but, last year, to me, it just seemed like, he had 7 or 8 sacks. He was good, but he wasn't that first-round draft pick level. And I saw that towards the end, that key superstar level that he can go to as a defensive end. But, all in all, the one thing that does scare me is the play calling and the coaching right at the end. It seemed like kind of similar to last year, where we coach to lose instead of coaching to win, where Cristobal seemed to be getting super safe. Like I said, was not allowing Carson Beck to throw the ball, really wasn't allowing him to do any sort of exotic plays or anything like that, just kind of playing to hold on to the lead instead of having the confidence, thinking we are a better team than this team. Just keep playing our game and rack up the points. I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to make sure that you win the game, but you play safe like that, you're playing to lose. You're not playing to win. And it's not about going for 4th downs and all that stuff, but what it is about is that it looked like we were just trying to keep the lead instead of trying to score, and that's why they started coming back, because we really weren't putting any sort of exotic plays. It was kind of just Milla vanilla, just run the ball, get as much yardage as you can, take as much time off the clock, and then, whatever you need to do, you need to do. But that's not going to win you games against like Ohio State and teams like that. Because in my opinion, we're vying for a college playoff run, and I'm trying to see what we do against those big teams. Playing like that is not going to be it. So that's something that we need to fix in the coming weeks. We're not really going to play anybody big. When you look at the schedule for the University of Miami, kind of technically this was the hardest game that we have. So, I don't really see anybody else. If we beat Notre Dame and we put up that offensive firepower that we did in the first half, I don't really see anybody being competition for us. But, it's all up to Cristobal and making sure you're playing to win, not playing to be safe, but play to win, man. Because this team looked phenomenal. We were going, all out, just giving everything we got. It looked great. And if we can continue this, owning the line of scrimmage, making sure that the offensive line and the defensive line are controlling the game, this team can be special. And I think, maybe we don't have the receiver core and, things are different. But all in all, with the trenches that we have this year, I think we have a better team, better coaching staff, and, can go farther than we could last year, which is unfortunate because Cam Ward was a phenomenal player. But I think Carson Beck has a lot more around him that he can utilize to bring this team to a playoff run. But we'll see what happens. Close game, but thank the Lord we won it. As always, guys, praise God, love God. He's good all the time. Fins up, or not fins. All about the you. Love you all. Peace.